Okay, it's finally time to make this video. I've been thinking about making this video for a long time now, and I kind of just didn't really get around to it. I could have done it a lot earlier, but today I want to emphasize that this is not a build guide. This is more of an overview of the archetype and like kind of just a talk about how everything works. And like what's cool about it, what's not good about it, things like that. So the first thing I want to go over is that there are many ways to play Kinetic Blast right now. So if you're here particularly because you want to play Kinetic Blast, you have a lot of options. It's kind of like just the most meta ranged skill right now. It's the best clearing skill in the game. It just scales damage extremely well, and it also happens to be really fun. So I have my character pulled up here from the league. I have grinded a lot with it, and this is my favorite edition of this. I also want to say now that if you're on a budget, don't try to play this build without somewhere like 100 and 150 divines to put into the character as a baseline. This character is not cheap, and there's no way to make it cheap. It's just not possible because it's like extremely efficient on the high end, but extremely inefficient on the low end. This is one of the worst builds in the entire game to spend a small budget on. Like, you need money, okay? So just stop being poor. Okay, so we got that out of the way. This character I've poured about, it's somewhere between 1.5 to 2 mirrors worth of gear here, and what's cool is like most of it I crafted. All of the rares I'm wearing I crafted except for the Simplex. I tried to craft the Simplex, it got really annoying, so I just bought one instead. But it's still got a couple things to go, but I'll just from here I'll just kind of start breaking down what the hell is this thing. So I imagine some of you that end up watching this have seen Empyrean Gaming playing this on his stream. It's one of the most attractive skills. You look at it, you look at someone playing with a set of really good gear and you're just like drooling, right? It's like you look at that and you're just like, I need this. That's exactly what happened to me a long time ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but Empyrean played an in-stacking wand character a while back, and I fell in love with it after I started playing it. So basically, if you're in-stacking, there's like a few things that are crucial that it does. First of all, you have to have a wand that scales damage off of your intelligence. Now these are pretty easy to craft. On this, like this is kind of a low-end wand in a way. Like this is, it's really good, but it's not great. But I won't replace this wand with anything that isn't a mirrored wand, which is what I plan on doing to take this character to like 1 billion DPS. But you just scale your damage, your flat damage off of your weapon like this. And again, these are kind of easy to make for, I don't know, you could do like 10D and probably get a damn nice one, or at least something like this. And the crafting process, I'm not going to bother explaining it because there's actually so many different people who have already explained it. Like if you want to find how to craft it, just search for intelligence wand, int stacker wand, craft PoE, like that kind of thing. You'll find. And as far as the other stuff goes, like it's just very typical energy shield based gear with intelligence on every slot, as you would imagine. Nothing here is very complicated yet. It's just expensive. That's something you'll notice about this build. It's not necessarily a complicated build for people to set up, but the reason that it's not really new player friendly is because the budget's extremely high, and you can assume new players don't have a budget like this, because this really is not a new friendly build for that reason. This is the ring I have. Helical rings are better. You can get really high rolls with helical rings, or in some cases you can get mirrored rings that have like an insane amount of flat intelligence, like upwards of 180 type stuff. And if you're super lucky, you find one with like crit multi on it too. I personally don't consider it to be worth it because they get extremely expensive to be better than this kind of ring, where this kind of ring can cost you like less than 20D to craft. Like the base is usually like something like 8D or something like that. And then the crafting's literally just slamming an essence on it, right? For the intelligence until you get something you like. In my case, I got tier 1 all attributes and tier 1 max ES and a tier 1 cold res as well. I was like, I'll take it. Like, I'm not going to be picky about this. But yeah, you always want to have that synthesis simplicity if you're going to do it this way. Now, I'm wearing a Nimbus. Okay, this is not necessary at all. This build is just fine without it. As a matter of fact, you're a lot tankier if you're not wearing Nimbus because you can reflect this ring and it gives a lot. It's like 1.5k ES and it is more damage from scaling int. But, you know, Nimbus, I picked it up because I wanted to start doing the Abyss risk strat and I figured I could use as much DPS as possible because my Merc's probably going to die a little bit and stuff like that. And it was a good call because it's true. He's dying quite a bit, but this does enable what this build, the only thing this build actually lacks is like some single target, and Nimbus is what you want to get if you want to solve that basically as efficiently as possible. Body armor is pretty simple stuff. You just stack a bunch of ES and ints just like the other gear. I would upgrade this, but the problem is if I'm going to upgrade from this one, it's going to cost way too much money and it's not worth it. Like 300 divines, it's not worth it for me. Like, I plan on upgrading this wand to the mirror tier 1 and then just being done with the character progression wise. It does not need to get better than that. I have no reason to send it. So I'd rather just start doing a different build at that point. And then the most expensive piece of gear that you have, or at least you want, is the Simplex. It's a classic int stacking, attribute stacking Simplex. Like, this has just been in the game for a while now. I'm gonna be honest, like with my experience crafting it, like trying to craft one, just don't fucking bother. It is the only kind of crafting that like truly pisses me off, where you're going back and forth. Like, you go to the menagerie to make imprints, then you gotta buy off the trade site someone's Crusader amulet, and they're always overpriced because they know what they're doing. They're selling it to you because they know you need it for the craft, so you're paying like 2D for that, and you probably paid like 3D for all this, a relatively decent amount of imprints, and then you have to awaken or orb for another 3D, and then you have to hope you hit the 1 and 3 in null, and if you don't, you have to do it all over again. You imprint that shit and do another awaken orb with another, and it's like, it gets so costly so fast. I spent 200 divines trying to get it, and I just didn't. Like, it was, I only got close one time. Like, it's brutal. Just, honestly, I swear to God, just save your money to buy one that someone already crafted. Like, it's just not worth it. Unless you like that kind of shit, don't do that. But this amulet is really good. If you can't have a Simplex on, there is obviously other options. I only recently switched to the Simplex. What I was running is an amulet with this implicit as a synthesized amulet. You can get away with this forever. You'd never actually have to wear a Simplex. It just really scales your damage really well. And it makes all of the other intelligence sources better because of how much percent you're getting. But I wore one of these forever. Like, I just crafted a decent one, and that was it. And these are pretty cheap. You can see 1D for the base, and there's a lot of them, you know. And as for the Mageblood, because obviously not everybody has a Mageblood, but this is the thing, right? This is why I emphasize, don't fucking play this character if you don't have a high budget. Just don't do it. There's so much that you need on a high budget here to like make the character actually worth playing, and Mageblood is one of those items. Mageblood makes every build kind of feel like that almost, right? So like, obviously, but this one in particular, it's just, you have so little space on your gear for like resistances and I don't know, like just random shit that like flasks can give you, like especially resistances mostly, because like you need intelligence on all of them, which is 1 slot across every piece of gear, and like you really want attack speed on the gloves, so that's another suffix gone. On your shield, you want to try to scale the double damage if you can. So it's just like all of these suffixes are just already taken up, and it just, you really don't want to have to worry about it. So you just do Mageblood, of course. So like those are the most expensive things about the build. By the way, the Simplex amulet is it floats around 0.7 mirrors, which I don't know the conversion right now, but I assume it's like 430-ish D. Very expensive, but very worth it. And I use Dying Sun. You'll see that in the gameplay I was using Wine of the Prophet, but I'm just testing it. I don't think it's better at all. I fundamentally hate Wine of the Prophet as an item, and I do not like RNG being in how powerful I am. And it's really annoying trying to check what the buffs are even doing. I just fucking hate it. So I'm going back to Dying Sun for sure. And Dying Sun is better. Like, you can always rely on Dying Sun to be insanely good. But anyway, that's enough about that little rant there. And this is classic instack cluster tools. You just get like 35 effect, and you get like the tier 1 like 8 intelligence, and ideally 4 to all attributes, and then the other prefix is kind of irrelevant, but the best in slot is obviously going to be energy shield. But then it starts getting really expensive. This one's cool too. I'm okay with the increased damage. It's nice. I settled with this one because it was... I also fractured this. I ended up winning the fracture. It's not the best one. I didn't get 35 effect, but the intelligence is great. And you can use this jewel, Emperor's Wit, just extra stuff. There's Emperor's Mastery too, which I wanted to get, but I actually just can't really fit it in. I don't think it's worth replacing. Well, it's probably worth replacing this, but it's kind of expensive. I don't really think it's that necessary right now. Lethal Pride is giving me 5% DD here, 10% reduced from crit, which is kind of nice. Another 5% DD here, so it's just like 10% double damage with a tiny bit of crit reduction. It's kind of nice. And then you do split personalities all the way over here, int and ES, of course. And honestly, in terms of like the concept of what the character's doing, or the gear that it's wearing, that's kind of covering almost all the bases. There's not a whole lot of room for like switching stuff out on the instacking variant of this build. It's kind of like a solved build, and there's like a few somewhat different than the others type, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's like you can pick and choose like very little changes to the build. And then as for the gems, like you're using Kinetic Blast and Volatility, of course, for this. Awakened Fork feels so good. Regular Fork works, but additional Fork or Awakened Fork feels so much better. Like it's just giga clear. Just your typical like LE scaling stuff here. Awakened LE with hits or attacks, crit damage, which if you're not using Nimbus, you just replace crit damage with returning projectiles. And then Sacred Wisps, of course. And the only truly noteworthy thing aside from that, it's like worth mentioning on the gear, or the gems, is the tornado setup, which I'll just demonstrate in game real quick. So this is like, this might be kind of hard to visualize actually in the game, but like, if I turn the tornado off, okay, you can tell the difference. So like, this is what it looks like with the tornado off. But if you have the tornado on, Spellslinger Tornado, you get like double, actually it's more like, it looks like triple the explosions in an area, but it also causes a shotgun effect against bosses. When you hit the tornado, it can overlap with the proges that you're already sending out to your single target. So it's a tremendous DPS boost. You can really notice it when you're just standing in the correct spot where it overlaps. So yeah, as far as gems go, that's kind of it. And it's like just typical stuff everywhere else, like Steel Skin with automation is what I choose to do. You can do cast when damage taken if you want. I use Sigil of Power. I have a precision level 1 just because I have the attack speed Watcher's Eye mod. So before I jump into the actual game and like the POB to like show some different pieces of information that could be helpful, I'll just go over these 3 other characters on poe.ninja that are examples of other ways that you can play it. Now, something I haven't mentioned is that I think Trickster is the best version of the instacking Wander. I think it has the highest ceiling, and it has the highest defense of all of the options you have. And honestly, if I could just... I don't want to level another character right now, but if I could just change this Deadeye to a fucking Trickster, I would. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows Trickster's is fucking, like, really strong defensively. Not a secret, but yeah, you can play it on there. I would advise you do, honestly. Deadeye is, like, slightly faster at the base. Like, maybe before... Yeah, if you don't have Mageblood, the Deadeye is going to feel better, I think, but... Whatever. I'm a Trickster fanboy, what can I say? And then there's this version, which is the most common version of Kinetic Blast, which is the Headhunter variant. If you like to farm Legion, if that's the kind of content you like, I highly recommend this. There is no better build in the entire game for Legion than this character. Like, you might break your computer playing it, and believe me, it does. It gets real ridiculous real fast. I had to stop playing it. I played it in the Freesia League. I had to stop doing it because it was fucking ruining my computer. Can't lose my computer, man. I need it. Yeah, this is the variant that most people will be interested in. It's the Giga Farm version. Like, it specializes in doing that, like, really, really juiced maps. So if that appeals to you, like it does for most, check it out. It's also way cheaper to set this one up, by far. Like, this is... It's like half the budget, if even, maybe even less. And here's one that's new this league that does interest me. It's using this new amulet, which a lot of people are using right now, but for a different reason. This one, he's actually scaling the attack chaos damage, because it does make sense. You're int stacking, int gives mana, you get a pretty decent mana pool, and you get a pretty good amount of attack or added chaos. And honestly, like 500k Kinetic Blast on poe.ninja is a really solid number. Like, my character shows up as 672, so his is like quite high, especially for being a headhunter character that doesn't have buffs, obviously, because it's on poe.ninja. So not bad. If you guys want to try this out, please do. I'd love to hear someone who's actually played the build talk about it, because it does interest me a lot. So yeah, those are examples, and there's other ones too. There's like a champion version of Kinetic Blast, which does look pretty good. If you want to play that, if that sounds interesting to you, because champion it is pretty cool. Go to the Big Ducks YouTube channel. He did a guide on it recently, and it definitely looks like it's pretty solid. So if you like champion, there you go. Probably tanker than all the Deadeye, at least. Not the Trickster, because there's no way it's tankier than the Trickster. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the POB now. I'm gonna kind of talk about what you should look for in a POB, I suppose. Like, if you're gonna pull up characters on poe.ninja to use as an example, then I guess I can show you like what you should actually be putting in the config, which there isn't actually very much for this character, for the record. But so as far as calculating the actual DPS, I'm gonna be honest, I don't fully know how to calculate how many projectiles slash explosions are actually hitting the enemy. But I get a gauge for my DPS. Lastly, when I played Zenith, I had about 300 mil at that character's peak before I reroll to something else. And this character feels like it's slightly higher DPS than that. So I'm just gonna ballpark it and say it's somewhere between 250 and 350 mil in its current state. My character's current state. So I don't know how to get to that number on here. But there is a lot of projectiles, and with the tornado thing, it makes sense that this number would scale up to something like that. I could see that. You know, like let's say like you're getting 10 explosion hits per attack or something like that, which is totally reasonable if that's actually how it works. And then, because, you know, the Nimbus especially makes it really easy to hit those kinds of numbers. But yeah, so here's what you do for the config. So you do get frenzy charges for usually the entire map, but also just like against bosses, because this is a 10% chance to get frenzy when you hit your marked enemy. Obviously everything's sniper's mark on rares and uniques, and you're hitting so many times so quickly that you'll always just have all of them at a time. You know, it's like you get them immediately. And power charges, now you don't, at least the way my character's set up, I'm still trying to find a way to wiggle this in without fucking some things up. But power charges, I only have them on kill. So like during mapping, I have them, but typically against like an actual pinnacle boss arena, I don't. And you can fix that with a few things, but the one I want to try to fit in is this one. So you'll just literally always have all your power charges, but the problem is like I need the int, and the one projectile from here feels too good. So like I don't know. This is the one I'd get rid of for sure, but it's weird. I just don't care enough to fix that, I guess. But obviously you can see it makes a big difference. So I'm just gonna assume like you can do it. You can set that up. You always have 10 Gale Force. You can always put that in. If you want, you can click your focused. In my case, I have 15 DD, and on the gloves I have 36 attack speed. So it's a nice little buff. It's not up all the time though, so. Rage obviously can go up to 30, but I'm just being conservative and just putting 10. Like that's a pretty realistic number for bossing. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't need to tell you. Like this config is fucking irrelevant if you're mapping. It's completely irrelevant. The kinetic blast just does all the work for you. Like you don't have to worry about that. If you have any decent amount of boss DPS, you'll just clear every map, no problem. It's just that simple. Sigil of Power stages will build up extremely fast, so I put it on 4 just because it's almost always there. Like if I place that down and I hold right click for 1 second, it's already like getting to stage 4. And then I have it checked as intimidated because my mark intimidates, so that's pretty reliable. Yeah, so let's talk about the merc, which is crucial. You can play this build without it, but boy does it feel just a little different with the merc. I mean, it's doing the Doriani stuff. You know, it's broken, it's OP, probably not going to be here after this league. Get in on it while you can, is what all I'm saying. He's wearing Prickle's Toe, so I typed in your damage with hits is lucky. And he has Doriani's, I believe 196, let me just confirm that. 195. So, you know, if I put this to 50, where it starts, I mean, look at the DPS difference. It is abysmal. But that's just how it is, you know? This guy does not die. He dies like 1 in every 15 juice maps. Like I've gotten pretty good about like kind of collecting him and keeping him in places that he won't die in. Because like if I'm running T17 and he dies, like I ain't killing that fucking boss. Because I'll take every altar that gives them resistances, right? Because if they have Doriani's on them, it doesn't matter what the resistance is. Yeah. One thing that's extremely important, you might have noticed, I'm like over my mana reservation and it's because I put in Wrath, because he has Wrath. And his Wrath is equal power to a level 20 Wrath. I tested it. And that's extremely important because I have the... Where is it? This Watcher's Eye for the lightning damage and attack speed. So, it's like... I refuse to pick any other mercenaries. Because there's like, you know, there's the... Because I use haste. I get to fit haste in because I'm not wearing Wrath. And yeah, there's like kineticists that have haste, but they're just always ranged, right? Like all their stuff is ranged, so they're always standing kind of far away, and so the Doriani's not as effective. So I like this guy because he's like half melee, half ranged. He also spawns tornadoes, by the way, and these tornadoes do also seem to collect kinetic blasts, so I'm sure sometimes I'm triple overlapping and I don't even really know it. But yeah. And then he's got lightning exposure, which you don't need if you're using Doriani. That doesn't actually do anything if you're using Doriani. But I just put it there because nothing else was useful. And then like one day if I manage to fit a lightning mastery, 60% crit chance against enemies with lightning exposure. You know, just random shit. Nothing else goes here, so. And then he can intimidate on hit. It's a nice little 10% more damage thing. And his staff gives 18% damage, and he gives a little bit increased effective wrath. So yeah, that's the mercenary. It's pretty simple. Like you'll see this kind of thing across all lightning builds this league. So as far as everything else goes, like I'm not entirely sure what else to cover. You know, like I said, this isn't necessarily a guide, but I do want to say though, like if you have questions about anything, like at all, because I'm sure I missed things. Like I'm new to this. I probably missed some stuff, but god damn it, do I love this build, and god damn it, do I want other people to play it because it is so sick. Like please do it now, because this is the league that is going to be at its strongest with this Doriani shit. Just try it. If you have the budget, but so I will say, please don't try it if you have like less than 150D. Like please don't put yourself through that. But I mean it's playable, but just yeah. Int stacking gear only gets more expensive as the league goes on, so you know waiting it out isn't going to help if you have the money now. So I strongly suggest it. And if you're having trouble deciding which one you want to play, I personally recommend the Trickster kinetic blast setup. I think it's just the best all around at everything. If you want to be a little faster and have a more online character before you have the highest budgets, then you play Deadeye. Totally. The extra 2 projectiles is really nice, of course. But then if you want to do the fucking like juicy Legion and stuff like that, you take the Headhunter variant with the Deadeye. It's also the cheapest variant. It can't boss for shit, but that's not what it's made for. So if that's what appeals to you, then do that. And if you're feeling a little experimental, try this one. And if you do, please let me know how this thing goes in the comments, because I would love to know. But yeah, like if you have any questions, like please do ask. I will answer anything I can. I felt like this is a build that's not really being covered very well. I think there's a lot of people playing it, but there's not a lot of people making content about it. And I think that this build deserves a lot of attention, so here I am. I'll just be like a representative of the build, I suppose, in some way. And if anyone wants to see more footage of the character, or just like whatever, like suggestions you have, if you want to see certain crafting things that you can't find somewhere else, I can do that. I can make, little YouTube shorts or whatever about how to craft specific parts of the gear, how to roll your flasks, like which gems need quality first versus other things, like stuff like that. Also like how to even know like what is an actual upgrade, because it can be kind of confusing. But anyway, appreciate your viewing, and I hope to see more instackers out there.